This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Sawubona molweni avshen dumelang. Hello to everybody watching this show. That's what was sort of 4 ways of saying hello in South Africa, one of which was fairly universal to the English-speaking world. That is hello. I know many young people these days don't like to just say hello. They say or how's it, or sup with you, you know, that sort of thing. But hello is generally considered hello. It means, you know, hello. Good. Excellent. My name's James Hendry. On camera today is David.
Hello.
There it is. He also said hello. You see that? And over there we've got some kudus. As always, the first 45 minutes of the sunset safari, and now the sunrise safari, but the sun rose some time back, so this will be the sunset safari, is dedicated to the children, the youngsters, those who will take over the mantle of leadership once the people my age have, well, I was going to say something very rude there, but I shan't. So, to those of you between the ages of 0 and 18, please send us your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. If you are less than 3 years old and perhaps unable to send an email, ask your parents, they'll do that for you. If you're over 3 years old and can do it yourself, then do that. And if you just want to pretend to be a child, well, we all have an inner child. Send us your questions and comments too. It's a beautiful afternoon, 27 degrees in late autumn here in the magnificent Sabi Sand Game Reserve. And we are looking at some gorgeous kudu cows. And interestingly, they might look to the more, I suppose, experienced of you that they are doing something they shouldn't be. They look like they're grazing, don't they? But they are not. Oh no. They are in fact browsing. And they're browsing small plants like, I'm just going to gently sneak up the car so that they don't run away in terror. Yes, of course they're looking at me, David. Who can blame them? They're eating small plants like this. So this is a dicotyledon. Now this is a little bit detailed, but maybe quite interesting. It's a dicotyledon like all the trees here, not a monocotyledon like the grasses. And all you need to remember about that is that it's a different kind of a plant. It's got different kinds of nutrients in it. And it's funny how some herbivores are not programmed, but have evolved to eat one kind and not the other, and some have evolved to eat both. So a kudu will eat mostly dicotyledons, almost exclusively, and so we say it's browsing, and something like a buffalo will eat almost exclusively monocotyledons, like grass, but you'll find that they do mix a bit, but the superb mixed feeder is, of course, the impala. So the kudus will generally browse, so that's what they're looking for on the ground there. They're not looking for grass. I hope that wasn't too ridiculously complicated. I didn't think so, though. If my small brain got it, I'm sure yours did. Let us now go across to Lauren and see what she is going to tell you today.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my vehicle for this afternoon. My name is Lauren, and I do have Owen on camera today. Now, Owen and I were actually just catching up on the antics of Miss Ribbon. So I'm going to pop into the den now. It's a different time from when we normally pop in. It's in the hot sun of the afternoon, because if we really don't find Ribbon there consecutively day after day, then I am wondering, has she moved in? And the mission starts all over again. So she's just up here, hopefully. So I'm going to pop in, see if Ribbon's there. If she's not, we may do a bit of a hyena den search today. It might, oh hello Hornbill, you're perched perfectly. We're going to say good afternoon to you. Please don't fly. A yellow-billed hornbill for the afternoon. Bird of the day. Excuse me, everyone. I just choked on my own word. Not the most pleasant thing. Where's your buddy, Hornbill? Notorious birds for being incredibly noisy in camp. We actually can't escape the hornbills, but I love them. They can escape us though, and believe it or not, that one just did. So yes, we may do a hyena den search, and it might not be the best fun in the world, but that's how we get answers. We've got to do the groundwork here. Nothing is laid out for you on a plate. If Ribbon really has moved, and we believe that she has, then we'll have to check where she's gone. Now, normally you can tell if there's been activity, fresh tracks, urine, smell, so she might be there. We just might not see her at that point, but we should be able to tell by looking at the ground, smelling around and assessing if she's recently been there at least. So this is us heading on into the hyena den area. Now the leopards love it in here too. It's quite a productive area for us here. Olivia, you're 9 years old from Maine. Hi there. Lovely to hear from you, Olivia. I hope we do see some giraffes. I love giraffes. I really, really love them. But I don't know. This is the thing about safari, Olivia. We never know what we're going to see. I'm hoping to show you a hyena called Ribbon, but I really, really... Oh, I've got a cool lizard here. Let me just see if I can move so Owen can get it. Hold on. I have to put my car in gear first. Yes. Okay, Owen, it's right there. Can you see it? Maybe 1 o'clock. Okay, I'm going to move out the way. It's just lying on the road there, half in the shadow, half out of the shadow. I don't have a monitor, so you got it.
There we go.
I don't actually know what type of lizard it is. I'm going to get my binoculars out. I love reptiles. Let me get my binos out. But yes, Olivia, we never know what we're going to see. Really. The unexpected happens on safari. Oh, hello, little guy. I think this is a skink. Frozen in time. Oh, no. Oh, we're moving. We're moving. How amazing. We don't get to see too many reptiles out here. We see more reptiles in summer, that's for sure. But we really don't get to see too many reptiles out here. They're so... Oh, we've got elephants. We've got elephants at the old hyena den. Oh, this is perfect. Okay, we'll focus on our little lizard for a few seconds longer, and then we're going to go and join this herd of elephants. Ah, what a start to the afternoon. So if you want to compare elephants to this skink, completely different in their biology. Elephants are the same as us. They're mammals, so they are powered by their body temperature is maintained by their internal systems, whereas the reptiles, they are powered by the sun. So they rely on the sun for their energy, whereas we don't. I love the sun, but we don't rely on it for energy. Okay, we're going to scoot past this little reptile to go and join the elephants. And as I make my way there, we're going to send you all the way across to andBeyond Ngala to say good afternoon to Sean.
Good afternoon, everybody. Afternoon to the kids again in the second show. Very cool. Welcome to andBeyond Ngala with myself, Sean, and we got Marcel behind the camera still. And what we are doing is looking for some lions. So they saw some lions this morning. Well, they saw a lion this morning. So we are going to see if we can find it. Now, they saw it off to our left. Then they went back to look for it, and it was gone. So we think it's run further down this way. Now you might recognize the area. For those of you who were watching yesterday, this is where Rowan had the wild dogs. And remember, we thought they were quite nervous. They were quite scared, quite skittish. We think it's very possible that they bumped into these lions yesterday. And then that's why they were nervous, and the lions were just lying down somewhere. So now we are trying to investigate. We're going to see, because we think it's a different pride of lions. Not the prides that we have been seeing. Not the Birmingham pride, not the Birmingham breakaway pride. We think it's a different pride. Okay, so we got a question from, I think she said Sophia, who's 7 years old from Maine. Marcel, just watch your head and your camera stuff here. wanting to know if we're going to see tigers. We are not going to be seeing any tigers, no, Sophia. Tigers are mainly in Asia. They live in the forests, sort of Asia, India, and we don't have that sort of habitat that they like to live in. I think they did once try and bring tigers into Africa, but it wasn't too successful. You know, probably due to the vegetation, the climate, and the competition. You know, back where they originate, tigers are obviously the apex predator. They're very, very big. Don't have pretty much any competition besides humans. Where here they would have competition with lions, elephants, with hyenas, things like that. And the tiger also being a solitary animal, it would maybe struggle against hyenas. But yeah, so no, we unfortunately are not going to see any tigers. Unfortunately not, but hopefully we'll find some lions. While Marcel and I carry on searching, what we're going to do is send you back towards Djuma with James at the waterhole.
We've just popped in to have a quick look at the little grebes, which many of you will have seen before. There they are. And the little grebe is covering up the eggs. And I think it's doing this because we came along, actually. And it's actually doing a bit of maintenance as well. So the 4 eggs are there. When we arrived, they were exposed. And then the little grebe came from across the waterhole, climbed onto the nest, covered them all up, and carried on its way. Now my plan today is to head down to the southwestern corner of Djuma, where I had some leopard tracks a little bit earlier when I went on a run, and I also smelt something that had died. The smell of death was in the air. Now maybe we'll be lucky, maybe those two things, the leopard tracks and the smell, are totally unrelated to each other, but it's a good place to go and investigate. Beautiful. Goody. Okay, Lauren's got some ellies, so let's carry on. We'll go and see if we can find our leopard.
Good luck with your leopard, James. I have elephants everywhere. I'm just trying to carefully position. We've got a young one here. Hello, I see you. Yes, hi. Hello. Now, I know it might sound ridiculous that I'm talking to the elephant, but I'm actually not trying to communicate with the elephant, essentially. What I'm trying to do is just keep my voice completely neutral, not too hyper, not too aggressive, not too quiet, just completely the same. And I'm trying to just make sure that I don't appear threatening in any way to this elephant. Aren't you beautiful? Alex, you're from the USA and you're asking how many elephants do we have? Alex, I wish I knew. I really don't know how many elephants we have. There's a lot. Oh, did you hear that? Listen. That was the dung dropping from this elephant's bottom. Oh, another one. Listen. It's a very loud sound. That heavy mass of dung dropping from great heights. So yes, Alex, I don't know how many elephants we have because they move great distances. So let's listen to this one eating. So elephants walk and walk all day and all night. They take small bouts of rest, but they walk together with the herd for food and water, feeding all day. They are bulk feeders, so they eat all day, but they're not good at digesting. They only digest 40% of what they eat. So when you look at those big piles of dung, like those two ginormous balls over there, it's basically just impartially digested vegetation. So they cover great distances, Alex, which means sometimes we have herds around and sometimes we don't. Kia, you're from the UK and you're 8 years old. I'm also from the UK. I hope it's treating you nice and providing you with some lovely sunshine. The biggest herd that I've probably seen was up in the Masai Mara, and I would say it would have been around 30 elephants. Now, elephant herds can get big, but once they become too big, they become very, very unsustainable. And what I mean by that, Kia, is that it's too many of them, too many youngsters, too many adults, too many to feed, too many to look after, too many to ensure that they're not arguing and always having to keep the peace. It's a lot of responsibility for the matriarch. And therefore, once a herd gets too big, they normally split. And they split into two separate herds. A new matriarch will arise and they will remain in contact. They won't be enemies. The two herds will often meet up. They will remain in contact and spend time with one another and be very tactile. Can you see that young one underneath him? You can just see his little trunk coming through. I think this youngster stayed very close to his mama. Just see the little trunk. But yes, herds can split once they get too big, and it depends on where the herds are. So different environments will mean that sometimes you get really, really big herds in comparison to other areas. Toby, you are 10 years old and you're watching all the way from New York, one of my favorite cities. I've been there once and I loved every single minute of it. Elephants have huge ears, as you may have already noticed. African elephants' ears are said to be in the shape of Africa. What do you think, Toby? Do you agree with me on that one? I think so. You can see how it's flapping back and forth, Toby. That is to help cool the elephant down on this very hot afternoon. You may notice that it's very, very thin. Very, very thin skin flapping with lots of veins and blood vessels. Can you see that? That is designed very, very in a unique way to help cool the elephant down. So the ears constitute 20% of an elephant's surface area. So it does depend on the size of the elephant, but the sort of biggest bulls, the biggest boys that you will get, can be 2 meters in length. 2 meters. That's 6 feet. And the widest is 1.2 meters across, which is about 3.5 feet. So they get very, very big. The bigger the elephant, the bigger the ears. But they help cool the elephant down, and they help give out about 75% of all the elephant's body heat. So they're really, really well equipped for what they do. Oh, we've got one coming towards us. Got another young female coming towards us. We're surrounded. Little youngster. Hello, you can see me now. We could just see your trunk earlier. Can you see how the youngster's ears are much smaller? The calves never stray too far away from mom. This is such a lovely moment. We've got elephants all around us. And can you see how wrinkly Mummy's skin is? It's very wrinkly. It looks like she needs a really good moisturizer. I wish I could just moisturize them, maybe a little exfoliation, but they're actually meant to be wrinkly because when they go in the water, those wrinkles hold water inside, and therefore it helps keep the animal cool for longer. So African elephants have far more wrinkles than Asian elephants do, and that's because they're from Africa, where the temperatures can get so hot. I'm glad my skin's not like that though. Tamaya, I'm not sure if you're talking about the mother or the young. This mother here, who's definitely mother of this youngster, it's very difficult to guess the age of an elephant, but maybe somewhere between 20 to 30, in her 20s. Hello, young one. And normally when you're looking at the calves, if they fit underneath mum's belly, can normally say that they're under a year. That's sort of a general. What is it doing? What are you doing with your trunk, silly? Are you showing off? I think this youngster's showing off for you all. But yes, can you see you're getting a perfect view how it's much, much taller than the underside of mum's belly. So this youngster, I would say, is maybe 2 or 3. But it's very difficult to guess the age of elephants. You're better given an approximate age. Oh, hello. Hello. Hi. Look at your long eyelashes. Coming very, very close to the car. Now don't worry everyone, all of these elephants are relaxed. We've not put ourselves in a position of danger. They're all very, very relaxed. This is another young female here that Owen's shown you. You see that pointy, sharp 90-degree angle on the forehead? Looks like she's got a big, sharp forehead. That's a female, but a young female. Males have round, smooth heads. The females have an angular head. I actually think this youngster on the other side that we were looking at is older. Now that I'm giving him a proper good look, I think this youngster is older than what I said. Maybe 5 years old. You see, we've got one over here. You can just see elephants everywhere. This is magical. Okay, I'm going to stay with these elephants as long as I can, but I'm very intrigued to see how James is getting on with his leopard search.
Well, we've come to the place where I smelt the smell a little earlier. Let's drive a little bit down the road. I am still sort of smelling it. It's not very strong though. So if there was a leopard around here, you'd expect it to be on a termite mound or up in a tree or under a bush. Dan, the leopard den has unfortunately moved. So, I nearly said Shadow, that was her sister. Tundi came back and she took the cubs into the next door property, unfortunately. So we have a picture of, or a trail cam shot of the cubs being led by their mother onto the reserve next door to us. So we can't go there, unfortunately. Which is a great pity. But that's how it is. So the tracks are on the road here. I don't see them coming back this way. So we're just going to drive down and see if they go off the reserve or if perhaps they disappear in towards a bush or a tree or a copse. A little spinney perhaps. Hello, Caitlin. You want to know why I am as mad as a hatter? Caitlin, I am as mad as a hatter because my head has been in the sun for too many years. And so every day my brain boils. You know, like when you boil a stew? Well, that is what my brain does every day. And as a result of my brain boiling, I have become as mad as a hatter. Also, I am also as mad as a hatter because I have in my ear a earpiece. Can you see this? And through that earpiece I hear the most astonishing amount of drivel on a daily basis. And while some people have managed to remain sane under the barrage of drivel, I have not. It has rendered me insane over the last 5 years or so. But thank you for your question. You've got a butterfly, have you? The diadem that's flown away. There you go. Hello, Lida and Reese in Florida. I'm assuming Florida in the United States. You want to know how hot it is in South Africa? Well, South Africa is quite a big place. Right now, in this part of South Africa, it is 27 degrees Celsius, which I believe in the language of Fahrenheit, this is where I lost the male leopard tracks. In the language of Fahrenheit must be around about, oh, help me out here, 72, is it? No, it can't be. It must be about 80 degrees. It's 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's here. But there are parts of South Africa where it's very cold, where it'll be already sort of 40 degrees, 45 in the coldest parts. And the hottest parts probably still over 85. So around about those temperatures, I guess. Just depends on where you are in this huge and magnificent country. Let us now go back to Sean up at Ngala. You'll notice that Sean will get progressively more insane as his time with the earpiece goes on.
Our search is still ongoing. I haven't found any tracks, which is possibly a good thing. It means that the lions have stayed within, so the area in between the roads, we call it a block, which means the lions have stayed in that block. It's not a very big block, so if they are inside there, it should be good for us in terms of narrowing it down exactly where. The thing is, though, we can't just drive in there. We got to find them first, so we got to go off on foot and actually find them. So I'm just making sure I don't see any tracks, and if I don't, then I will head down there and go off on foot and see if we can find them that way, and then we will bring the car in. But it's been a very hot day. Okay, so we've got a question from the UK. I think it's Thea. Wanting to know, how far do lions walk on the average day? So, yeah, firstly, the lions are nocturnal, so they'll do most of their walking at night, which is why we haven't seen anything coming out on the roads, because now it's a hot day, they're not going to walk during the day. But at night, when they do move, they would, let's say, they would average maybe 5 to 8, 10 kilometers in a night average. Sometimes they only go 200 meters, sometimes they go 15 kilometers, but on average I'd say between 5 and 10 kilometers at night. And they're very, very seldomly walk during the day, especially a day like this. And that's why we said let's come look for the lions, because all of the odds are in our favor. It's a hot day, so they shouldn't have moved too far. It sounds like they were eating something this morning, They were finishing off a carcass. So they've eaten, they're full, they're lazy, it's hot. They found some shade, they found some water, and they've been sleeping for the whole day. So it's looking good for us. It's looking good for us. That's why we thought, let's come down here. We drove past the wild dogs again. They were still fast asleep where we left them. They're the same as the lions. They were full, they were lazy, it's too hot, so they slept. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling quite positive. I would like to find a track, so I just know where to start my walk. But okay, so these get names again. Sounds like we may be from Ash in Dublin.
Sorry about that, everyone. Sean has, oops, sorry about that one. I just hit the brake very, very hard there. I'm not good at driving this car. Now, the elephants are all still there. Don't worry, they're not going anywhere fast. I just quickly popped around to see if I can introduce you all to Ribbon. She's not there, I'm afraid. Now, we're not allowed to hang out here without an adult, but I just want to take the quickest look at the hole. Not very exciting, just to see if there's any signs that someone has been here recently. So I'm going to pull up for 2 seconds. You're going to get to see the den entrance, which is riveting, and I am going to just quickly look through my binoculars. I don't see too much fresh activity. Okay, Owen, let's bumble on out of here. I wonder, there's a possibility she could have moved. The cubs are approaching 4 weeks. She's the matriarch, Ribbon. She's the boss. She's the leader of the clan, literally. And there's no other cubs that we know of at the minute. And therefore, her cubs would have a huge advantage to stay with the rest of the clan. There's no other bigger cubs that could be boisterous and potentially hurt them. I wonder if she's moved. I'm just speculating at the minute, though. As the cubs get slowly older day by day, Ribbon won't have to visit every single day. Okay, back to the elephants, everyone. They're just here. I just thought I would be proactive and check on Ribbon. There's lots of youngsters in this elephant herd. Lots. Casper, you're 5 years old and you're asking about electric cars. My goodness. Electric cars are, of course, well, environmentally friendly on some level, and they're silent. Fantastic tool. I used to drive them in the Maldives. Got a youngster here. Just driving very, very slowly, Casper. But I think you need a lot of money to buy some electric cars, Casper. So for now, we're going to stick with our normal petrol and diesel cars. But one thing I will tell you, Casper, I'm going to tell you a really interesting story. I was with one of our leopardesses called Tandy. Actually, Owen, there's a nice view of one over here. I'm going to go forward. You don't want to stare at elephant bottom. And we were in the sighting. Tandy's 13, so she's very, very used to cars. She's very used to the noise they make, the smell they make, what they look like. She's habituated. She's 13 years old. She's seen them since she's been a cub. Now, we were in a sighting with her, and another vehicle came, and this vehicle was electric. So it looked like a vehicle, visually, but it didn't smell the same because probably there's no petrol smell or diesel smell, no chemical smell. And it also didn't sound the same because it was silent, Casper. And Tandy got a huge fright. She could see the vehicle approaching and she she upped and ran away because she didn't know what it was. So what I'm trying to say, I think if we all started using electric vehicles, don't get me wrong, I think they're great, please don't get me wrong, I think it would take time for the animals to habituate, or maybe not all of them, but some of them. They're so used to hearing us coming, and noisy old engines, and they're used to smelling us. So if something comes that's different, I think it will take them a while to get used to electric vehicles. Now, that's just my opinion. But I did notice that with Tandy the leopard, she got such a fright. She really didn't know what to make of this electric vehicle. But great question, Casper. Of course, electric vehicles don't use fuel. They use electricity. So they have many, many benefits. And that lodge did not do anything wrong. I just think it might take a while for the animals to get used to them. Because they're silent. All you can hear is the ground moving underneath the tires. Williana, you're 11 in Massachusetts. You're asking, will the other animals give elephants space? Mostly yes. Now, predators maybe not, but other herbivores, yes. Birds, yes. Once they see elephants coming, I think it's a very smart idea to move out of the way. They're big animals, after all. Predators, however, sometimes lions can chase. Somebody is very upset. Wow, that was a youngster. I could see which youngster made that noise. Wow. Do you know what I think happened here? I think this youngster just got scolded. Sounds like a hyena. But it's not. It's coming from the elephant. I think this youngster's getting scolded and is taking a tantrum. I think, from what I can see. Wow. If any of you have ever wondered what a tantrum sounds like in an elephant, that was it. There's no threat here, don't worry. There's no predator here. That was a tantrum. Justin, you're 8 years old and you're here in South Africa. Great to hear from you. I'm very jealous of elephants' long eyelashes. If only. If only humans also had eyelashes like that. However, elephants have them for a reason, and that's to protect their eyes. So they live in quite dry, sandy. Look at the road in front of us. It's very sandy. And although right now it's summer and everything's lush, in winter it becomes very dry, very barren. You think about it, if you're at the beach and the wind blows, isn't it the most horrible feeling when the sand hits you hard? So those long eyelashes just help protect their very, very small eyes. Elephants do not have big eyes. Hopefully Owen can show you. In comparison to the size of their skull, the eyes are very small, and that tells you something, Justin. It tells you that they don't rely on their eyesight as their main sense. They have lots of other wonderful senses, and those long eyelashes just help keep out dirt, dust, anything that might fly into the eye. Humans, of course, we can give ourselves an eye bath, we can wash our eyes, and if something's really wrong, we can go to the optician or the eye doctor. Elephants can't. So because of the environment that they live in is so dusty and dry and sandy, those eyelashes help protect the eye. They're a barrier against the environment. Great question, Justin. Such noisy eaters. Elephants are normally a lot happier in summer. Winter is stressful. Winter is harsh. The grass is dead. Not many trees will have leaves. Water is not plentiful. They're restricted to certain water points. This is a younger mama, and her daughter, I think, is a young female. Have you noticed how the youngsters' trunks are much smaller and they don't quite reach the ground? It takes a long time for an elephant to learn how to use its trunk. There's more muscles in an elephant's trunk than there is in our human bodies. Londele, you're also from South Africa and you're asking about matriarchs. Great question. Now, the most sort of common animal social structures that have matriarchs are elephants. The matriarch position in an elephant is very, very important. And hyenas. Out of the mammals, they are the two most sort of common species that have matriarchs. And it's a fantastic system, social system to maintain order. Let's just think there was no matriarch in an elephant herd and you have these huge animals just roaming wildly, taking tantrums, being very emotional, being very reactive. Hello, we're just talking about you. Yes, we are. There's a youngster over here too. The matriarch maintains order. Because of the size of elephants, it's very, very important that that's the social structure for these particular mammals. And hyenas, I guess it's also a very similar thing. To maintain order, someone's got to be the boss. Imagine if there was no boss in hyenas and they were running around whooping, eating everything they can, causing complete chaos. They're the two species out here that we have matriarchs. There's actually other examples in the animal kingdom, but out of all the animals we find here, it's elephants and hyenas. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm completely in my element right now, but you guys are going to go back across to Sean to see what he has for you.
And we are back. We had a bit of a signal issue there. But before you left, we were answering a question from Eve and Ash about lions and if lions are dangerous. So Eve and Ash, lions are potentially dangerous. So they can be. Generally, they are not. Not towards us, at least. So we are going to quickly just send you back to Lauren with her elephants while we carry on our search here.
You're back with me once again, and that's absolutely okay. Because here, we're still with the elephants. They're so relaxed. They know we're here. They 100% know we're here. And they're really, really not bothered. We're not driving the car at them. We're also not being loud and abrasive. We're not being threatening. So they're completely relaxed. Sometimes you get the little side eye. They just check that you're still here. And see if Owen can give you a close look, maybe on the top of the ridge of the back, or maybe on the head. I'm not sure. We'll get a good view. You should be able to see long, wiry hairs. Elephants do have hairs, especially African elephants, maybe on the crown of their head and sometimes going down the ridge of their back. And it's believed that these hairs assist in cooling the elephant down. They act as little heat conductors and they draw the heat away from the body. So it's not just the ears that assist in cooling down, it's the wrinkles and it's the hairs. The hairs are said to assist by 5%. So you've got the ears, 75%, and the hairs, 5%. Ethan, you're 10 years old and you're asking about elephants' tusks, I think. Comms broke up there, Louise, but I think that's what you're asking. Okay. Yes, when do they start growing? Believe it or not, young elephants actually have milk tusks. So the tusks will be ready to grow as soon as they're born, but it will be milk teeth, milk tusks. And they normally fall out at 1 year of age. Not too unlike humans. We have baby teeth and then we have adult teeth. So elephants actually have milk teeth, and the permanent tusks, like the ones you can see on this big female right here, normally start to be visible around the age of 2 to 3 years old, and they continue to grow throughout its life. Now, why I say visible is because the tusks actually start growing right below the eye. There's a large portion of the tusk that we actually can't see. So they'll start growing, possibly a little bit younger than that, but they only start protruding from the upper lip and becoming visible around 2 to 3 years old. Oh my goodness, what a quick 45 minutes that was. Wow, I hope all you kids that managed to ask some questions and get them answered enjoyed every minute of it. So we are going to open up the drive to everybody now, so please do send in all your comments and questions. But kids, keep asking questions. It's for everyone now. We'll still answer all of your wonderful questions. It's fantastic to have everyone on board from all around the world. I can just see the hairs on this elephant that I was talking about. Can you see them, Owen? Just to the side of the elephant's head, before the ear. Maybe I can roll forward. Let me try and see if I can. You got them. That's the hairs that I was talking about. They're very coarse and wiry hairs, but they help cool the elephant down. They're not just hairy for no reason. They're not just wrinkly for no reason. So I believe Sean has been trying very, very hard to answer a question for you all about why lions are dangerous. So I'm going to sit here and let's try and go back across to Sean one more time for some success.
Okay, we're going to try this one more time and see if we can get this question answered about the lions and if they're dangerous. And so potentially, yes, lions can potentially be dangerous to people. There have been records where people have been attacked and eaten by lions, but generally they are not. Let's say I had to walk in here now because we think the lions are somewhere off either to our right or our left, clearly not in front of us. But if I had to go in there and walk, it is very, 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 very unlikely that they will do anything to me. Now, purely because firstly they have already eaten and it is so hot. They're going to be very, very lazy. They're not going to want to be hunting, stalking, anything like that. So most likely they're just going to leave me alone. If they had cubs or if they were feeding and I ran in there and tried to grab a cub or cut some of the steak off, then yes, they would attack me. But that's quite understandable. That's why we don't do things like that, so that they don't attack us. So lions can potentially be dangerous, but towards us, generally not. So these are the two that are hopefully going to find us the lions. It's our friend Andre and Romance. So they are going to go and track down these lions for us, hopefully. Otherwise we see nothing. Okay. So Rowan says we can blame it on him if he doesn't find them. But they're going to go have a look. There we're going to head down this way. There's a 2-track or another path we're going to take. Have a look, see if perhaps they already crossed and they're off on this side. But me and Marcel have been spending pretty much most of this afternoon talking about tigers and lions. And deciding what, who would win. So we're just doing some research in terms of size and weight and that, so we can come up with a good plan. But in the meantime, while we further discuss that and look for the lions, we are going to send you back to James and see how his cat search is going.
My cat search is not going very well. I've just gone off-road to have a little look around where we were smelling, and we had the leopard tracks, and I'm afraid, and it also looked like we had a drag mark, but I'm afraid it's turned up a blank. So we are going to go back onto the road and check out another area entirely and see if we don't get lucky over there. I'm assuming you've been told how to ask normal questions, even if you happen to be a kid. You can still send those questions through. Hashtag WildEarth. Otherwise the chat stream on YouTube or Twitch will do. So, an unsuccessful foray into the block here. I had extremely high hopes. But one always does, one comes out here with extremely high hopes every day. So there it is. I'm pretty sure these are the tracks of Hukamuri, who is a male leopard aged 7-ish now. And we went to the southern boundary to check, because often he walks down this road and then out across the game path. But his tracks have not crossed out, so he could be around. We might be lucky with him. He might just be lying in an impenetrable thicket, which will make it impossible for us to see him. Anyhow, that is how it is. That is the state of play. I'll just quickly show you over here. There is quite a substantial fire started somewhere in the foothills of the Drakensberg mountains. And you can see it from where we are. And I'll just point out a couple of the landmarks that you may recognize, depending on how good your knowledge of this geography is. Let's go around the corner here. Hello Joey, aged 5 in the USA. You want to know how leopards get their spots. Same way you get your eye color, same way you have 5 toes on each foot, I hope. Same way you have brown hair color or blonde hair color or red hair color. They're just born with them. And it's a complicated thing to do with what we know as genetics. And you'll learn about that later in life, but basically it's the same reason that your hair color is your hair color, your eyes are their color, etc. Now that is a view of the Drakensberg mountains there, and those 3 koppies that you can see, those 3 hillocks, are the Ulusaba hillocks. I don't know if you've heard of Ulusaba. The eminent Sir Richard Branson's lodge is up on one of those, and then just beyond that there's a fire, and I don't know where that started, if it's in a settlement or if it's more likely it's probably in one of the forestry concessions up on the mountains. Anyway, that line of hills is quite interesting because it extends all the way to parallel with us on the Sand River, and there's a koppie, very famous one at Mala Mala, called Stwijs koppie, and what it would seem is that there's a seam. Yes. Different spellings. I think it's a different spelling. Yes, it is. There's a seam that was cut many, many millions of years ago along that line, from which granite bubbled, and that molten granite made these beautiful koppies or hillocks all the way along the line. So if you follow the line of those koppies along to Stwijs koppie, you find them all the way. And they hold unique vegetation, unique animals, klipspringers and various other bird species that you wouldn't necessarily find in this area. So that's quite interesting. I think that's marvellous view. Gorgeous colours. Okay, we'll carry on looking for Hukamuri. You're going to go back to Lauren and her elephants.
Good luck, James. Hukamuri is in town, I know it. He's been hanging around the eastern edge of his territory a lot lately, which is a western edge of ours. Well, not my territory. I don't have a territory, but our game reserve. Now, yesterday, Davy and I spotted an elephant, a youngster, with very bizarre coloration of the eye and strange patches on the skin. Now, I've been doing a lot of research and I haven't quite got the sort of scientific backing yet, but I wonder whether it was leucism. And that's when an animal is leucistic. It's not the same as being an albino. Albino is a condition when there's a complete absence of melanin. And of course, melanin is what is present in the skin, and it gives skin, feathers, hair, eyes their color. So if you have a complete absence of melanin, that means you're an albino. But leucism is when you have only partial loss of that pigmentation, not complete loss, partial loss, and it can be on different levels. It can be maybe 50% loss or just 10% loss, but you're still described as being leucistic. It's the opposite of melanistic, and it can essentially make the animal patchy or have white, strange coloration on their skin that isn't normal for that particular species, or their hair or their feathers, depending on what organism you're referring to. And I wonder if we came across a slightly leucistic elephant. It was fascinating. The eyes, I've never seen eyes like that on an elephant before, and it has been recorded in other parts of the world and other parts of South Africa. But it almost looked like this particular youngster had absolutely no pigmentation in his eyes whatsoever, which is worrying. He may not have the greatest sight, and the skin, the loss of sort of pigmentation in the skin wasn't too severe. It was patchy. There were strange patches, but it seemed to be the eyes that were the worst. And it almost looked like he was wearing these terrifying Halloween contact lenses. I'm sure you all know the ones I'm referring to. So I'm still trying to do a lot of research, but I do think... My goodness. I think that's another youngster upset. Was it this one? Gives you such a fright. Now, as I mentioned earlier, they don't really have the greatest eyes anyway. They're so small, it tells you straight away they're not relying on their eyes. And their eyes are said to be roughly the same size as humans. And if you think of the size of our skull compared to the size of an elephant's skull, everybody's been very vocal today, then that tells you straight away they don't use their eyes. They probably haven't got good eyesight. They're said to only really be able to see 50 meters in front, suckling. The youngster's suckling. That trumpet earlier was a demand for milk. The youngster's trying to suckle. Mum's mammary glands don't look too full, though, I must say. I'm wondering if this youngster's just chancing his luck. They can remain in milk for up to 4 years, but they will start to go on to solid food, which is vegetation, at around 6 months. But they will suckle from mom for up to 4 years. Wandele, you're asking about the ivory and the tusks. Is it used for medicine? Can you just confirm that's correct, Lou? Got a youngster coming to the car. I'll come back to your question right now. This youngster's very brave. And not showing off. Sometimes the youngsters will try and show you how big they are. And it's rather entertaining because, of course, they're nowhere near as big as the adults. Hello, you hairy thing. Hi. Hello. Oh, it's really nice to meet you. This is incredible. Okay, yes. Yes. Got a little head shake. And now we're not interested in the car anymore. We're just going to show everyone our backside and walk away. What a lovely backside it is, though, I have to say. You confident, cheeky little monkey, you. Wandele, you're asking about ivory, and of course elephants are poached for their ivory. It's decimating the elephant populations across the world, and it's mainly used as ornamental or decorations. Can't think of the word I'm looking for. It's a very beautiful material, and it can be used in, is that a baby kudu? 2 baby kudus? Or is it just one? I think that's a young kudu. There's youngsters everywhere, and that male's chasing that other male Impala is all happening here. And the elephant's giving himself a dust bath. I don't know what to talk about. So yes, ivory can be used as billiard balls, piano keys, all sorts of things for human enjoyment with an ornamental factor. But I do believe in some countries in Asia, they do use it for some form of medicinal properties, but I could not possibly begin to tell you what. Okay, I'm going to stay here and enjoy being surrounded by all these different mammals, but I am going to send you guys back across to James.
Here we have got a mast, and behold, there upon the mast is a bird. Now I have been up to the top of that mast on many occasions, and the view it affords you of this reserve is unparalleled. And so that is why the brown snake eagle is sitting up there now. It is not because he has an interest in broadcasting, nor in Wi-Fi connections, nor indeed in masts, but it is a perfect place to get a great view of this area. In fact, you have to get very little height in order to get a great view of the area. So while he's sitting there, I'll just quickly explain what that is. Basically what happens is that the signal comes out of the camera through an antenna on the back of this vehicle. It bounces off a repeater on that mast, bounces off to a repeater in the final control, is then sent to London as far as I'm aware, from whence it goes out to you, with a total delay of around about 10 seconds, I think it is now. So what I'm saying to you happened 10 seconds in the past, which is not very long at all, considering how far it's had to travel. And the brown snake eagle, of course, as I say, utterly disinterested in any of that. He's just looking for snakes from up there. And snakes they do like. And for those of you who are perhaps novice birders, you want to know why I say that is a brown snake eagle. First of all, of course, David, he is correct. He's brown. Good. Well done. Secondly, if you look very carefully, you can see that there are no feathers on his leggies, which means that he cannot be what is termed a true eagle, a term I wish that had never been coined, because people who like brown snake eagles or American bald eagles, etc., etc., get deeply offended if you say that they are not true eagles. It is just a function of English more than anything else. Then the third thing you need to look at is the fact that he has got a bulbous head. His head looks fairly fat, and this one is particularly scruffy. He looks like he's just about to join the army. And then if you look very carefully and you've got a good set of binoculars, and I'm not sure you can see this in the camera, he's actually got yellow eyes. Yes, Bass, I have seen a brown snake eagle nest. It's a sort of untidy agglomeration of sticks in a tree. I'll just try and see if I've got a picture of one for you. Brown snake eagle. Obviously he has not nested up there, for there are no sticks there. Usually on top of an acacia tree. I'll see if I can find you a peach. No, I can't find you a picture of a nest, but I can find you a picture of the egg. Look at the eggy, David. What does it look like? Yes, a chicken's egg. Really the same, really. If I saw that and a chicken's egg, I'm not sure I'd know the difference. I hope we're not eating fried brown snake eagle eggs for breakfast every morning. I don't think we are. Let's go back to the elephants. We are going to continue on our little drive.
This mama and gaffer came so close to me. They were about 1 meter away from the car. This is amazing. Hi, guys. I think they like the mandra. I don't know why I don't like it. Hi. It's a young female. Daughter, mother and daughter. Hi, Mama. Is this the most delicious, delicious grass? Okay, now you're just showing off. You are showing off. I think you've got a little something in your teeth, too. Yes. You need some dental floss. This is so magical. And now you've got some stuck in your ear. Yes. Wow, look how detailed that trunk is. Can you see all those bands? Those bundles of muscle? So relaxed around us. Now, an elephant trunk is said to have over 40,000 muscles. 40,000 muscles. Now, let's take into consideration that the human body has 639. Yes. Let's just take that into consideration. Dust bathing. So I'm enjoying spending time with my females here, Haven't seen any males yet. This is an all-female herd, but it seems that Sean has managed to come across a huge elephant bull.
So indeed, we do have this male elephant, and it's actually quite interesting. In fact, if you have a look at his trunk, now he's going to hide behind the bush, but look at his trunk. He's missing half of his trunk. At least half of it is missing, which is very, very uncommon, obviously. But you can see he's a big elephant. He is very, very tall. He looks quite old. Definitely a male. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So you see him bending down like that because his trunk is short and he couldn't reach whatever he was trying to pick up with his trunk. So that's why he had to dip down like that. Very, very interesting. And what I was going to say was, you can see that he's quite an old elephant. And the fact that he's survived this long without that part of his trunk just shows you how adaptable and how overcoming these animals can be. You know, something like that, I would imagine it was caused by a snare. If you look at the wound, it's very flat. And I imagine it was a snare. It's a very clean cut. It's a very straight cut. Now, if it was something that ripped it, tore it, it would obviously be more jagged. So I would imagine he got in a snare or a fence, something like that. But it's just it's always crazy how impressive these animals can be. How incredible it is that they can survive. I'm hoping he's going to walk out here almost just across in front of us to see, so we can get a better look at the trunk. If I go a little bit forward, Marcel might be able to get a gap forward. So we're just going to see, look how into that tree he's gone. You'll find there's all small little behavioral changes that this elephant has had to do. Okay, yeah, he's going to hopefully, we're going to stay where we are unless he comes towards us. But we'll start to notice a lot of small behavioral changes that this elephant has done to survive with his tusk. I mean his trunk. With his half a trunk. Where are you going, elephant? You see, he's a lone male. We're not sure exactly how relaxed he's going to be. Remember, his bit of his trunk is missing. Look at his ear. His ear is also looking, his left ear, our right-hand side, looking quite tattered there. But he's not very tall. He's got long tusks. He's got very nice-looking tusks. I'll probably put him somewhere between maybe 30, 35 odd. Okay, interesting question from Annabelle, who's 8 years old, living in Kenya. Now, Annabelle wants to know why elephants have holes and tears in their ears. So Annabelle, have a look at the edge of the ears there. It's very, very thin. The ears are very, very thin. And when they're walking through the thick bushes, they're walking through thorn trees, things like that, often little thorns or branches or sticks, things like that, will hook in the ears. And the elephant just keeps walking, and it rips those little holes in the ears. It's just because the ears are so thin that it's very easy for them to get torn, for them to get damaged. Doesn't affect them too much. I mean, look at him. He's got many other things to worry about besides a little hole in his ear. So I think that's his least concern. Okay, we're going to stay here for now. But look at that. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, his trunk like that. What we're going to do, though, I want to follow him because I think he's going to a water hole. And I'd love to watch him drink, see how he does that. So we're going to carry on following him, carry on spending some time, see what happens. In the meantime, I think James has found another animal.
Unfortunately, this animal had 6 birthdays, gave birth to 4 generations of great-grandchildren while that link was happening and flew away. There it is, on the end of this tree here. You see it there, Dwarf? Just right, like the closest. Follow the main middle trunk up, and there's a branch sticking out over towards it. Got him. Huh. These birds never sit still. That's quite special, that. Would anyone like to hazard a guess at what it is? If you would like to hazard a guess, please hazard it now using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter or the chat stream on YouTube. It's one of two species. I just need to check up. It cannot be one of two. It must be only one. One cannot be one of two species, can one? Any ideas? Any ideas? You'll notice I'm talking very quietly for fear that it will fly away. Oh, that's a really nice example of that. Dove, it is not an oxpecker. It is not a yellow-billed oxpecker. Alright, Kay Williamson's getting close. She says a cuckoo. Now, which cuckoo is it? You can only really confuse this one with one other. Sean, a grey cuckoo, not a grey cuckoo. I'm going to give you one more guess and then I shall tell you, because it's great to explain it while it's sitting there. Any others? Any others? Any others before it flies? Okay, I'm going to tell you. It is an African cuckoo. No, Monique, it's not a red-chested. They do look relatively similar. This is an African cuckoo. Now, the only thing you can confuse it with, if you look very carefully, as I am with binoculars, is a common cuckoo, or what used to be known as the European cuckoo. And basically the only way you can tell the difference is that this one has got a predominantly yellow beak, as opposed to a predominantly black beak. And Joyce, you guessed it correctly, so well done, Joyce. It is indeed the African cuckoo, and this is the best view of an African cuckoo that I think I've had. They normally sit for about 3 seconds and then fly. And I suspect this is a youngster. Now, I don't know how many of you listened to my dissertation the other day, but I'll give you a little bit of a summary. It was a very interesting discussion sent to me by a viewer whose name I have regrettably forgotten, and it was by Richard Dawkins, and he was discussing cuckoos and how they are able to lay their or disguise their eggs different colors. Now, this cuckoo is predominantly a parasite on the fork-tailed drongo, so it doesn't really have to disguise its eggs too much. Yeah, pretty much only the fork-tailed drongo, but other cuckoo species have to disguise their eggs depending on their host. So the Diederik's cuckoo's got lots of different hosts, for example. And the question came through, well, how on earth do they know what color egg to lay? And I couldn't answer it. And then this wonderful talk was sent through by Richard Dawkins. And basically, cuckoo females belong to different genties. Now, the singular of that is the word gens. So all females belong to a genties of one description or the other, and female cuckoos or the sex of birds is opposite from human beings, chromosome-wise. So a female bird is an XY, and a male is a double X. And so the gens of the female cuckoo is held on the Y chromosome, and it's basically cultural. Any cuckoo born, so for example in the Diederik's cuckoo, if it was born into a southern red bishop's nest, it will lay blue eggs, because those are the eggs that will disguise to its host, and it will only ever lay eggs in a southern red bishop's nest. But no one ever teaches it that. It never sees an egg, obviously, because, digs its way out of an egg, and it never sees a parent lay an egg. And so we think it's encoded on the Y chromosome exactly what color egg it should be, and all the males belong to the same gens, Well, each female that has a different host belongs to a different gentis. What a perfectly timed flight from that African cuckoo, which most likely belongs to only one gens because they only have one host, and that is the fork-tailed drongo. Thank you very much. Let's now go back to Sean and his elephant. There's a fork-tailed drongo over there, but we're not going to try and look at it.
So we're keeping up with him so far. It's actually been very interesting to watch him eat. So he walks almost into the tree or into the bush, and he eats a lot with his mouth. You know, he does break off things with his trunk, but he's doing a lot of just eating with his mouth, seeing that he can't wrap his trunk obviously around anything. And he uses his tusks quite a lot. Now he's facing away from us for now, but we still want to stay here because when he turns, he's going to keep heading down towards the water, which is off behind us. So I'm hoping he's going to turn and walk across us. And we want to have a look at his tusks, because sometimes when the elephants use their tusks a lot to break off branches, break off food, it actually wears away halfway down the tusks sometimes. So you want to have a look. As he turns, look at the end of the trunk and look at the tusks and see, are there any marks where he's been obviously using it to break his food. But I'm very interested to see him at a waterhole. See what he does. Does he kneel down? You see the little baby elephants, when they can't use their trunks, they often do like almost like a headstand. They kneel all the way down and they stick their mouths in the water to drink. I'm wondering, will he do something like that? Or is he actually still able to use that trunk? I mean, he has been using it, yeah, so he still has use of it. Ah, interesting, Carla. So Carla is 12 years old from Johannesburg. She wanted to know, will his trunk grow back? Now, Carla, I don't think so, no. His trunk will not grow back. You know, I would say it's a very similar situation, Carla, to if you had to lose your arm. You know, your arm's not going to grow back. The muscles on your arm are not going to grow back. And if you remember, we were discussing yesterday, 3 days ago, about the elephants and what their trunk is made out of, and we said it's made of hundreds and, well, not hundreds, but thousands and thousands of muscles. So his trunk is very likely not going to go back. I think that's how it is now. It would be very interesting if I could find out when this happened, to see how long he's been living without that part of his trunk. You see how close he is to that bush. It's like he seems to be eating. Now he's probably having a good time because there's lots of leaves. The grass is very long. He doesn't have to bend down too much. You know, in winter, you might find an animal like this will struggle. You know, remember we were saying we've seen the elephants digging for water in the river, and they use their feet and then they use their trunk. So he might not be able to do something like that. If our water holes dry up, what does he do? You know, again, in winter, all of these leaves have gone. The grass is short. How does he eat? Very curious to see. There we go. So now he's coming at us. Remember, look at the tusks. An interesting question from Road Track, who lives in India. He's wanting to know if these African elephants are more aggressive than the Indian elephants. Now, Road Track, I cannot really answer that question. I haven't been to India. I don't know how your elephants sort of react, how they've been treated, you know, that sort of thing. You know, I know our elephants that we get here around the andBeyond Ngala area are generally very relaxed. I mean, you look at the elephants that they're seeing at Djuma at the moment. James had this morning or yesterday. Lauren's having right now. Very relaxed. I'm sure there are elephants in India that are just as relaxed. Then we got some elephants here that you see from 100 meters away and they come charging at you. So on the general, I don't know. I think it all depends on the location, the experiences of the elephants themselves. I don't think you can generalize aggression on that sort of scale. I mean, look at this one. He must have had a very traumatic hours, if not days, when this happened to him. You know, we don't know how long he was with the snare around his trunk or missing the trunk, things like that. So he could have had a very traumatic time because of humans. Yet here we are, 40, 50, 60 meters away from him, and he's perfectly happy, he's perfectly content. He's not showing any signs of aggression. Actually really, really relaxed. But look how much me and Marcel were chatting, Marcel and I were chatting. But, you know, we think he's old, purely because of the markings. There we go. So we got a little comment from Dolon saying that Indian elephants are generally quite relaxed and they're not very aggressive. So it seems like they're quite similar to ours. You know, ours also, on the whole, quite relaxed animals. Look at that. I mean, it's literally half the trunk that is missing there. And I'm looking at the tusks. I don't know if you focused on those when he was walking away, but you could see there were no clear marks on the tusks, anything like that. So now I'm trying to find out, think to myself, what ways this elephant has adapted to eating, to feeding, to living with that half a tusk, you know, besides walking into a tree to feed. You know, how does he break things off? Because normally you'll see elephants eating, I'm sure the ones with Lauren, when they were eating, they wrap their trunk around whatever grass or bush and they pull it up. He's going to struggle, like I said earlier, he can't do that. So how does he then get his food out? If we focus over there, you can see he's attempting to do it now. So there you can see him trying, and he's managing to get a little bit. He's managing to get a little bit there. That's a smallish bush. He didn't just use his mouth, he's actually using his trunk. So he is. I think the most interesting thing, as I said, will be drinking. That will be the most interesting thing. So we are going to stick with him. We're going to watch him struggle. We'll come back to you with some feedback about how he's managing to do it. But in the meantime, while we have this one elephant, it sounds like Lauren has found a whole herd of them.
Oh, they're just moving off. No, come back. I am having the most magical day with these elephants. And believe it or not, and this straggler over here, I've been sitting watching. There's a fork-tailed drongo, which is a bird, coming swooping in. I think it might appear. Let's just wait a few minutes. Once the elephants move off, the drongo swoops in, hovers for a second. It's over there. It's disappeared. Watches to see if the elephants have disturbed or upturned any of the soil, and then looks for any insects that might be available for the taking. It's fascinating. This drongo has been following these elephants, and as soon as they move off, swoops in, has a look, and then flies off again. I actually just watched it catch something. I have no idea what it caught. Some sort of delicious insect. This has just been so magical. I tried to move, but then the herd came back. I think there's possibly two herds, two related herds. The numbers that we have seen, if it's one whole herd, then that is very, very large. Let's just see if the fork-tailed drongo comes in. It's fascinating. Drongos are known for this behaviour. They follow herbivores all day long and watch them and wait until their big footsteps upturn the soil or disturb the sort of ground below, and it might bring some insects to the surface. Now, I think if we go forward, we're going to be able to catch up with the herd, I hope. Shall we on? I read you're 8 years old in the UK and you're asking about an elephant's tail. Well, it has many uses. One, probably the most important one, It's a fly swatter. Nobody wants nasty flies on their bottom. I can't imagine anyone would want that. Any sort of insect buzzing around your bottom will not be pleasant. So constantly swooshies to aerate and keep that bottom free of flies. Second, they actually use it in communication. Elephants are very, very tactile with one another. They also express a lot of their emotion through body language, and a tail is used as part of that. Humans can also use an elephant's tail to read. I'm just going to position nice and carefully. Just want to make sure nobody is hiding around the corner and I startle them. They're all in this drainage line here. This might be the last views we can get of this herd, I'm afraid. What about here, Owen? Oh, it's a perfect view. Mama is doing the toilet. So yes, we can actually read an elephant's behavior. When any animal is unhappy with your presence, they will tell you. You've got to be smart enough to read the signs. A leopard will tell you. A domestic dog. You will know when the domestic dog is not happy. They might growl or they might put their body in a certain position that shows you, they're not happy with your presence, back off. Elephants are the same. Now, of course, this herd was very relaxed and lovely to spend time with, but you can encounter upset elephants. You can also encounter displacement aggression. So an elephant can be very, very upset by something else that's happened, and of course you appear. And naturally, they take out their anger on you. I guess that can also happen on humans. So there can be displaced aggression, but if they're really not happy with your presence, then they will let you know that. The tail is part of that. You look for the signs, the tail will go erect and be very, very straight and not move. The ears will go up, the neck will stretch up, the head will stretch up to make the animal look bigger. Also, elephants are notorious for pretending to move their trunk and pretend to feed, but actually they're not. You've really got to look for that. And I think I'm going to drive and see if we can get a better view. So yes, sometimes what elephants will do is they'll pretend to be eating and they'll move their trunk like this around grass. You've got to watch because they're not eating, they're pretending. Males are notorious for that. They're sussing you out, they're moving their trunk and they're thinking, this person thinks I'm eating, but I'm not, I'm on to them. Leanne, you were actually wondering about the signs. Well, that's just some of the signs that elephants do when they're not happy. They make themselves appear bigger. Those ears will go very straight and stick out the way. Of course, they're already huge, but what they're trying to do is make themselves look much bigger in order to say, don't even think about messing with me, buddy. I'm an elephant, and I am huge. So that's some of the signs. Males can also hang their trunk over their tusks, which looks really bizarre. It looks like they're just carrying it, but that's another sign. This male's not happy, and he's showing you. You have to read that, you have to learn from that, and you have to back off. Most animals, even aquatic animals, will let you know when they're not happy, and you must leave. Otherwise, accidents, of course, can happen. I was really hoping this huge herd would pop out. Somehow they've managed to completely disappear in this drainage line. It's amazing how elephants can disappear. You can use and lose an elephant rather quickly out here. Surprisingly so. I'm just trying to contemplate my route. I don't want to leave this herd. They're just too magnificent. Okay, I'm going to think about my route and how I can catch up with them without disturbing them. And as I do that, we are going to send you guys back across to James.
We are heading down towards the south. Oh, let us listen to that call, David. Behold the call of what sounds like the tawny-flanked prinia. Now, it is very similar to the call of the green-backed Cameroptera. But one would expect the green-backed Cameroptera to be going bzeep, bzeep in between. And as you can hear, there are no bzeep, bzeeps, just a chip, 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 chip. can't see this bird, however. It is a small, indistinct brown bird with a turning-up tail. Oh, David, look. It is a natal spurfowl that has delusions of being an eagle. See how it perches like a bird of prey, waiting to leap upon an unsuspecting victim. Now, if you weren't with us this morning on drive, we saw one of these things that had only 1 foot. And we named him Long John Franklin. Louise named him Peggy, but I did not, and I found him, so I got naming rights. The viewers apparently liked Louise's name more, but I found him, so I get naming rights. There are no other rules. I think the colours on those things are magnificent. The lovely orangey pink on the feet. And then they're always, I mean, there must be hundreds of different kinds of browns. Let's just go a little bit forward. He's still there. Oh, he's running away. There we go. Christo, yeah, I definitely get excited for rare birds as much as for rare mammals. You know, finding a rare mammal here is very unusual. Yeah, a rare mammal would constitute, I suppose, finding something like an aardvark or a pangolin. But otherwise, you know, finding rare mammals is unusual. Leopards are just fantastic to find, so we enjoy finding them, but they're not rare. But if we were to find, say, I don't know, Ruppel's griffon vulture came flying in here by mistake, or pelican or something like that, it would get us really excited because they'd be out of range, they'd be out of their distributions. David, there's a rather spectacular grasshopper that's just landed on your camera next to my microphone. Stand by. I shall retrieve it with stealth. Did I get him? No. Oh, he hasn't really tried to fly away, did he? I became over dramatic.
You go on the dash, it's a bit close.
Exactly, Louise. Quite correct. Louise says I'm never over dramatic. She is, of course, exactly correct. I'm extremely balanced human being. There we go. There is our grasshopper. Is that not magical? I think this is a junior because it has very short antenna and no wings. Very strong legs, unlike mine. Alright, apparently that half-trunk elephant is approaching the water now, and it's really going to be interesting to see how he drinks. Maybe even more interesting than this grasshopper.
Okay, so we do actually have the elephant coming to the water. You can see there what he's doing is he looks like he's just smelling at the moment. So this so he was smelling to see if he wants to come down here. He's seeing what other animals are around. So this is the water hole, and there could be, you know, the lions we're looking for are somewhere off in front of us, we think. So he's smelling around, making sure there's nothing else at the water hole, seeing what is happening. But there's nothing here. There's a couple of birds, and that's all there is at the water hole. But I'll be very interested to see if he goes down where he is. It's got nothing to do with his trunk, but you'll see now if he moves forward, and we get my soul to move out. Only if he moves. You see it's very steep. It's very rocky where the elephant is. So I would imagine he might walk around. You can see there in the picture that bank is quite steep, quite rocky, quite slippery. So it will be interesting to see. He looks like he's contemplating. He's standing at me. He's like, do I want to walk all the way around? Or am I just going to... See, look at that. He's obviously got most control and use of his trunk still. You can see he's still smelling. We saw him eating. The ultimate test now will be drinking. Can he do it, and how does he do it? But he looks very majestic there, standing amongst the grass with the trees in the background. Still a very beautiful animal. Even with half a trunk. Rob, yes. I would say he should still be able to trumpet. So Rob's question is, will he still be able to trumpet only having half a trunk? Rob, yes, I think he would still be able to trumpet. I don't know how it would sound. Probably quite different, quite odd. But I would imagine he would still be able to trumpet. It would sound different because it's obviously much, much shorter. But yes, it would probably come out more similar to like a calf elephant, a baby elephant's trumpet, I would imagine. You know, they got short trunks, but they can still trumpet. So essentially, he's just got a baby elephant's trunk. You know, the only difference is the end of the trunk has that little hooked lip, much, much smaller, more dexterous ending, where he doesn't obviously have that. But I don't think that affects the trumpeting at all, Rob. So, yes, he can still trumpet. He's taking his time here. Just making sure. There used to be a crocodile in this waterhole. So, you know, there's always the potential for something like that, and the animals instinctually are always aware of potential dangers. So, Neil's asking a question. Now, Neil wants to know, could the elephant not have been born with half a trunk? So, Neil, yes. Potentially, he could have been born with half a trunk. I doubt it, though, purely because if you actually look at the injury, you know, if we focus on it and you actually spend some time there, it looks like it's been cut. It looks like, you know, it's been raw. If he was born with it, it would look different. It would look different. So I would say there's potentially, I'm sure there are elephants that have been born with some disabilities, deformations, like a smaller trunk or a crooked, whatever it may be. But his, I would say, no, his one broke off or got cut off, bitten off, snared off after a while. You can see he's heading down to the water. We can't see the water from where we are, because we're sort of up on a ridge line here. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to go down and around so we can get him drinking. Let's see him climb down though. But very clever. You see the path that he's taken. Obviously didn't go straight down, taking more of a roundabout route. Looks like there's a bit of a path there where other animals have been going up and down along that path already. I once saw a herd of about 200 buffaloes climb up that bank. It was very, very cool. So I think there you can see that bit of a game path directly in front of him there. He's walking down it, that sandy, lighter coloured one. Walking perfectly down it, taking the easier route. So I think we are going to quickly loop around so we can actually catch him drinking. Very, very interesting comment from Nick, who lives in Plet, saying that he's almost certain that he saw this elephant 20 years ago, and he used to be a ranger, or he used to come to Sabi, which is close to where Djuma is. And if it's true, if it is the same elephant, that would be very, very interesting, quite fascinating to know. 20 years ago, this elephant was there like that. Look at that. Look at him drinking there. Let me see if we can go a little bit closer. But the fact that he's managed to live at least those 20 years very healthily. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him. He's not looking skinny, nothing like that. So that is quite incredible how these animals can do it. We're going to zoom in now. See, so he's not inhibited as much as I thought he would be. He's actually doing that pretty easily. You can see he dips his head down a lot more than some of the other elephants, but he's not walking as far into the water as I thought he might do. I thought he'd have to go at least a couple meters into the water. But, you know, if Nick is right, this elephant's had 20 years of practice. He's spilling a lot. He's spilling a lot more than other elephants would. And I think potentially his trunk doesn't actually reach all the way into his mouth. And he's actually shooting the water from his trunk into his mouth, and that's why so much of it is missing. So that would be my guess, just judging from what we're actually seeing. But very, very interesting. But I also wonder now how much more time he's going to need to spend here to drink the amount of water that he needs. Now, a normal adult elephant, roughly his size, would fill about 10 liters of water in their trunk. So they get 10 liters, obviously roughly with spillage per sip. And he doesn't have that access. So does it take him double the amount of time? Because he might have half the trunk. So maybe, you know, he needs to, instead of drinking 10 times, he's drinking 15, 20 times. Or over the last 20 years, 25 years, has he adapted to slightly less water? You can see he's not as big as the number of elephants that would be his sort of size. Me and Marcel were discussing that. We were like, he doesn't look very big. I mean, I could have just aged him incorrectly, but I think my aging is quite spot on, especially if Nick has seen him 20 years ago. So it would be very... I'm going to do a little bit of research on this guy and see if anyone else has seen him around, if they have more information. We're very close to the Southern African Wildlife College here. And they might have a little bit more information on it, or on him. You know, maybe they've seen him before, they know what happened. They may possibly even tended to his injuries, or helped tend to his injuries. That's a perfect position here, right in front of the elephant. You watch him drink like that. It's actually a fantastic picture when he lifts up to drink and you've got both tusks coming out on either side, head up. See, now he stopped. Looks like he was just listening a bit there. It's quite windy. Potentially he smelt something. We saw him smelling with it earlier. So it seems that he has absolute control. Can do everything other elephants can do. Which is again why elephants are such incredible animals. See, there's quite a few Egyptian geese around here. They calling, the noises you can hear in the background. Very peaceful little ambience my son and I are experiencing right now. See, watch not watch. So his trunk made it pretty much all the way to his mouth. You might find because where it's broken off, it's not as dexterous, so the water just kind of shoots everywhere. Generally, an elephant's trunk at the end will come down quite thin, and they have more control. So maybe when they're spraying it on a normal elephant, they can control that spray a lot more than he can. He's just got this very, very wide trunk. It just sort of goes all over the place. But he seems to be very, very content there. Fantastic to be able to follow him all the way down here, to be able to watch him drink, see how he's still capable, watch him do it. But now he's going to be walking away. So we're also going to make our way out. And in the meantime, sounds like Lauren has found some mongoose.
The closest relatives of the hyena. Yes, hyenas are extremely closely related to mongooses. You can use those words interchangeably though, mongoose and mongooses. Extremely social, cooperative breeders. The smallest carnivore we actually get out here. Unlike hyenas, within their society, they show great organization of roles. So, of course, with hyenas, there's a matriarch at the top, just like what we were discussing earlier. But with dwarf mongoose, the group is dominated by an alpha pair. So that's an alpha male and an alpha female that are solely responsible for breeding and leading. Well, at least the alpha female is responsible for leading, and the alpha male is normally responsible for initiating defense. So it's a different social structure from hyenas. It's very organized, but they're very, very social. They're watching us. My goodness, there's a young one. Oh my goodness, Owen, do you see that one? Oh, it's tiny. So this is a business of mongoose. Oh my goodness, tiny. Did your parents not tell you it's rude to stare, guys? Oh, that youngster's so small. Linda Polly, so lovely to hear from you. You were saying so precious. Completely. I think that's the smallest dwarf mongoose I've ever seen. That's the dwarfest dwarf mongoose I've ever seen. Now, they are quite skittish. When we pulled the car up, we saw them from a distance. They all scattered inside the mound. But if you just stay for long enough, I'm keeping my voice quite low, not make any sudden movements, they will all come and check you out, just like what's happening right now. Now, on average, a business of mongoose is about 12. That's the average figure. But they can go up to about 30. And of course, once they have offspring, or at least the alpha pair have offspring, the numbers will increase. How small this one is. Now, they all groom one another. This is called allo grooming, and it strengthens the bond. Lionesses do it too. Strengthens the bond between individuals. They have a sort of collective effort in looking out for predators as well. It's very, very organized. They all perform duties: guarding, grooming, protecting the young, babysitting, playing. Raising the young is a group effort. So the small ones that you're looking at will belong to the alpha pair, but they will all babysit and they will all contribute to raising these offspring. Cassie, you're asking about are dwarf mongoose part of the rodent family? Very good question. Now, dwarf mongoose are essentially part of the order Carnivora, but they're not rodents. They're the smallest carnivores we get, as I mentioned, but they're not classified as rodents. They're actually part of the Herpestidae family, closely related to hyenas, which is baffling for some people, but not rodents. They may look rodent-ish. I understand why you asked that question, Sassy Cassie, but they're not. They're not part of the rodent group. They're Herpestidae. And of course we get many different types of mongoose out here. Owen and I have been trying, not so successfully, to show you slender mongoose, but every time we try, we fail. They're very, very shy. We do sometimes get bandied mongoose out here, and we get the white-tailed at night time. Michaela, sadly not. We don't get any meerkats here. I wish we did, but sadly, we don't. We get them in other parts of South Africa, but we don't get them here. Not in the Sabi Sands. I'm not sure about the rest of the Kruger, but I don't think so. Not in this area, I'm afraid. This little youngster. That's so sweet. I'm surprised that we would be really, really relaxed. For the youngsters to be out and the sun is starting to set, is getting to that time where they will all run inside any termite mound or burrow within their territory for night. You will not find dwarf mongoose out when the sun is set. Cindy in Tennessee, good question. You called baby mongoose pups. So the alpha pair will have a litter of pups. These little tiny dwarfy mongoose are in fact pups. I think they should have a better name though. Louise is saying you can hear them. Let's listen for a moment. Sometimes if you make a noise with your mouth, they actually respond to you. Now, I was just checking my app for the yellow mongoose. The yellow mongoose sort of distribution says that it covers this area, but I've never seen a yellow mongoose. I wonder if anyone has on WildEarth. Louise, have we ever seen a yellow mongoose? It's a large family. Louise has seen one, but we've not seen one in this area on the show. But there's lots of different species of mongoose. I'm sure there's 33 different mongoose species in the Herpestidae family. I mean, need to double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's 33. But the most common ones we get here are the dwarf, the slender, the white-tailed, and the banded in this particular area. I think that baby was suckling. I wonder if we'll get another glimpse of that. They don't look like the ferocious carnivores that they are, do they? They have very sweet faces, but they are carnivores. Eating termites, insects, snails, beetles. They love to pounce on beetles, especially dung beetles. Centipedes. Ugh. Imagine hunting a centipede. Oh, no thank you. Scorpions. They're experts at hunting scorpions, and you've got to think what that would entail. This is such a sweet exciting, from a wonderful elephant herd to a business of mongoose with pups. Oh. Hello, little pup. Welcome to the world. This must be so much fun running around this termite mound. Up and down, in and out. Oh, this has been such a magical drive. Now the sun is setting, so I think I'm going to let my little family of mongoose head back inside for safety. And as I do that, we're going to send you guys across to James.
We are approaching Beef Dam here on the northeast corner of Djuma. I must visit Beef Dam at least twice a day, once per drive, sometimes twice, in the mostly vain hope that there will be a pride of lions splayed out in glory on the dam wall, their tawny coats glowing in the golden setting sun. A recently deceased buffalo in amongst them. No longer suffering, of course. But I suspect what we'll find there is a couple of little grebes, 2 blacksmith lapwings, 4 water thickneys, 3 hippopotamus, and almost certainly 2, yes, I said blacksmith lapwings, almost certainly also a few red-billed buffalo weavers. And then we'll probably press on. But let's see. Maybe today I shall be wrong. David has suggested that Columba the leopardess might come and visit us there. JB, the most beautiful bird in my opinion is... Ooh. I have very unsophisticated colour tastes, so the most garishly bright bird is normally my favourite. And so I think that my favourite bird is probably, or my favourite birds are the bee-eaters to look at. The European bee-eater, the white-fronted bee-eater is gorgeous. The carmine bee-eater, really enjoy that one too. So yeah, probably the white-fronted bee-eater, because it's the most garishly coloured. Yeah, I think we're just going to check that my predictions were absolutely correct here. Egyptian goose, we got there on the dam wall there, Dwarf, in front. Jippo goose, we've got the flying bird is the water thickney, so we've got 2 of those. We've got the little grebes. There they are, in the water. There's at least 1 hippopotamus at the far end of the dungween. There's been a bit of hippo upheaval, hasn't there? The stick-throwing hippopotamus called Dewey has left the dam in front of Djuma. And what else did I say there might be? Oh, blacksmith lapwings. We didn't see any of them. There must be some here, surely. Or buffalo weavers. Still a very pleasant, peaceful place to sit and listen to the evening. And there is also a Birchall starling, David. Birchall starling in the dead tree there, David. Very far away, 3 pixels. Mm-hmm. Oh, I saw blacksmith lapwing. He's just flown into one of the inlets. I'm not going to ask David to whip pan round to him because, well, I mean, we have seen a blacksmith lapwing a few times before. Oh, Toby, that's not very hard to answer. Which country is the best country to go on safari in? South Africa is the best country to go on safari in, obviously. You know, I mean, I say that. I don't know that there is a best country. It really does depend what you're looking for. If you want absolutely spectacular scenery that'll take your breath away, Namibia is unbelievable, but you won't see the same concentrations of animals as you will, say, in the Mara Serengeti. So if you want just animals wall to wall, then the Mara Serengeti in Eastern Africa is probably the best place to go. If you want just wild open space with virtually no people, I guess the Okavango in Botswana, lots of animals there too, or the Selous in Tanzania, or Kafue in Zambia. It's impossible to say which is the best country. If you want the best leopard viewing in Africa, you want to come to the Sabi Sands. Yeah, it just really depends on what your desire is to see. All of these places have got their charms and their advantages and their, I wouldn't say disadvantages, but where they're not quite as strong as other places, perhaps. I think the key to going on safari is really to decide why you're going. What do you want to see? What do you want to experience? Do you want something completely wild? Do you want it all pretty much handed to you on a plate? Do you want a great guide, or you're not so concerned about your guide? You know, you just want to see the animals. Do you want to take photographs, or do you just want to see the places and that sort of thing? So, you know, you really got to think about what it is that you want to do. Also, how long you've got, and let me not put too fine a point on it. It really does depend on how much money you have to spend, because some safari locations are extortionately expensive, sometimes for good reason, sometimes for no reason that I can discern, and others are much cheaper, but you know, sometimes you'll have to cook your own food and drive your own vehicle and possibly find your own animals. So it really does depend on your budget. People often get hold of me and say, well, you know, I'd like to go on safari, where shall I go? And the question is always, well, how much do you want to spend? And then the conversation becomes awkward. I think that we have probably milked Buffelshoek Hook Dam for all that we can this evening, and so I think we shall continue. We're going to go to the end of the dam, turn around, and drive back along down towards the south. David, are they? There is an Egyptian goose, and you say that it is very violent. Well, they're quite aggressive with each other, I suppose. But, I mean, I've never been set upon by an Egyptian goose. I don't think they're particularly aggressive. I think they're particularly noisy, but I don't think they're necessarily more aggressive than any other bird. Their noise is violent. Their noise is almost as violent as that of the hadeda. Or what I like to refer to as the hangover bird. Ah, Daniel, the best place to see wild dogs. Kruger's a good place to see wild dogs, pretty good. There are parts of Botswana that are pretty good for wild dogs, but Kruger's probably better. In East Africa, maybe the Selous. Mana Pools in Zimbabwe is an excellent place to go and see wild dogs. Yeah, probably Mana Pools or here. But in fact, probably Mana Pools. Good question, thank you, Daniel. Right, let us go across to Sean, because there's a very, very rare occurrence going on there at Ngala. They have not yet found any lions.
James. But no, we do not have any animals at the moment. I heard from the tracking team that we passed. They were trying to look in the block. They were walking in there. They were trying to see. They couldn't find any tracks, but they did find a number of elephants. So they had to then leave that area. So they walked out of there. And now they're having a look somewhere else, seeing what else they can find. We also going, there was a hole there, going through some areas where I'm hoping a cheetah is going to appear before us. I haven't seen any tracks though, so it's unlikely. But we can all live and dream. Where we're also heading is sort of back up towards where we saw the wild dogs this morning. Thought let's maybe pop in there, have a look, see if they're still there, see what they're doing. Going past a...
I just wanted to check you was driving today, right?
Going past a few water holes on our way. There's a pan system, a small water hole to our right, but there's nothing there.
Yeah, I'm just going to take down Impala.
Ah, okay. So it sounds like the wild dogs are up and moving. Sorry, I was just listening to the radio there. Sounds like one of the other guys has seen the wild dogs. So what we might do is, is head up that direction and have a look. See if we can find them, see what they're doing. Maybe they're hunting again. But let's go and investigate, Take our speed up a little bit. Keep looking around here though. Want to see now it's getting darker. Now it's getting darker, it's getting cooler. Things are going to start being more active. But yeah, we'll do that. In the meantime, while we're heading towards those wild dogs, we're going to head back towards Lauren, see what she has for us.
Oh, hello. I'm thinking. You caught me in my thinking face. I'm so undecided. I'm also on the same boat as Sean. I don't have wild dogs to race to, but I want to be everywhere. Things are going to start getting mobile. It's that perfect golden hour. Sun is going down. It's already cool. I've got my scarf on, and I just feel, there's going to be so many things happening. I want to be everywhere, and I can't. Luckily, James is at the other side of the reserve to me, so between the two of us, we can at least cover some ground. Now I'm heading to the southern boundary. Why? There was a lot of activity this morning. I got lots of updates on my phone, and sadly, none of it was on Djuma, but that's okay. Because things move, especially at this time of night. So that's why I want to check the southern boundary. But a good tip for being a safari guide, when you turn a corner and you're heading in this direction, always look behind you. I've spotted so many animals that way when you're traveling this way, but just always have a check on the road behind you. You never know who may be walking there. And you just haven't seen them because your eyes are always focused on the road ahead. Always look behind you. That's one of the greatest tips that I have for anyone who's driving about in a game reserve. Okay, let's see what the southern boundary brings for us other than cold. It's chilly. So I'm sure you all heard the updates from this morning, but there was dogs on Chitwa, which is very frustrating for us, of course, because normally we do traverse Chitwa, but now we don't, which is absolutely fine. It's according to the rules and it's how it must be. But of course, to know that there was dogs on Chitwa, and I don't have any information for you on what pack it was. Also, Kuchava and Cub crossed Gowrie Main. This is Gowrie Main twice. They were seen crossing out and then crossing in. But yes, not on our property. So it's just worth checking. I think the southern boundary, as I always say, is the favourite of all the boundaries for me. This is, of course, Djuma, and this is all the other properties. There's different properties as you make your way along. Mrs. Lapwing, you're asking about tracks. Tracks, are they anywhere? I don't see any. And Gowrie Main, this particular road, I find really easy. It's very wide. It gives you room to sort of move to the side, to check here, and then move to the other side to check there without killing your cannon. Always a good thing. But I find it really, really easy to pick up tracks here, and I don't see any. Still, the road is long. The road ahead is long, so we'll keep checking. I've already had the most wonderful drive. I've got great, great feels about the rest of it. That was the area where Olivia's carcass was. Oh, it's vile. It is absolutely vile. Every time I drive past it, I don't breathe. Ugh. Now, there's always tracks. There's always tracks for antelope. Sometimes you see giraffe. Giraffes like to walk on roads. Birds, there's always bird tracks. Franklin tracks. But of course, that's not what we're looking for. Can you see that golden glow that's just cast itself across the road? Oh, it's stunning. My favourite time of night, and I'm sure I'm not the only one enjoying the golden glow. James will be too.
I am enjoying the golden glow. Behold how amazing it makes me look. Shall I push the brake? I probably should. Let me do that again. What do you think, David?
All right.
Do I look royal?
Sort of. A bit burnt out, actually. Hold on. Yeah, that's better.
Touched by Midas. Or as my wife calls him, Midas. Unfortunately, my wife is in the final control room this evening, and so I cannot tell you the story of why she calls it Midas. But one day when she's sleeping in the morning, I shall tell you, and then she will not know. Right, my wife will be off tomorrow afternoon, so while she's slaving away in the kitchen for the camp, I shall tell you the story of how Midas became Midas. I might be uncontrollably laughing there at the time. I will be in too much trouble. Too much. Rachel, at the risk of sounding facetious, the best place to see African birds is Africa. And that might sound facetious, but it's true. I don't really know how else to answer that question. So, there are about 2,000 species of birds, I think, in Africa. And they don't all occur in southern Africa. So it depends what kind of African birds you want to see. If you want to see the sorts of birds that live in this area, well, you know, obviously you have to come here. So you get different habitats. Forest birds, you're going to go to the Congo and the Central African Republic and possibly parts of Rwanda. Maybe, yeah. So those will be those sorts of birds. Sahelian or desert birds. You're going to go to the band of countries south of the Sahara. You have to be very brave because you might not come back from them. And then sort of bushveld birds, you're going to come down here. You get different sweeter birds in Namibia and in the desert regions. So it really does depend. There are some wonderful birding hotspots. In South Africa, Pafuri in the northern Kruger Park is a great spot for birds. We do pelagic tours. The northern parts where Pinda is, northern parts of KwaZulu-Natal are beautiful places for birds. Where are the birding hotspots? Parts of Zimbabwe near Mutare are great birding hotspots. So it really depends on what you want to see. And then, I mean, you can go into the desert and look for desert birds and see very few species. Get some really special desert specials. No, it's just a branch, David, don't worry about it. Thought I'd spied a leopard, but I had not. Of course, the light really is just utterly spectacular tonight. Pity it's not being accompanied with some wild dogs. Remember, Africa is 3 times the size of the continental United States, so it really does make a huge difference as to what you want to see. Kerry, you want an update on stickology. Kerry, this is the wrong time of year for stickology. Stickology can only be studied in the height of the dry season when there are no leaves on any of the trees, although I will show you 3 very nice examples of mature sticks that have survived the trauma of having leaves and come out the other side without leaves and yet are still standing, and there they are. Magnificent sticks, basking in the last of the day's rays. Very nice. So majestic in the golden light. Oh, the game drive radio is now going off. Mercifully, it's not in my ear. As you will remember if you were watching the kids' show, one of the kids asked me why it is, thank you, David, why it is that I'm mad as a hatter. And one of the reasons is that I've had to listen to this thing in my ear for 5 years. The level of drivel spoken on it, it really beggars belief. I went once, I'll tell you a quick story while we're waiting for somebody to find an animal. Hopefully it'll be me. Oh, no. Oh, yes, we can. No, I was also referring to the FC Louise, don't worry. Anyway, I'm going to be in big trouble tonight. I don't think I'll get any food. I went once, well, obviously I was a guide at Ngala for a long time, and every week we had a rangers meeting, and in the rangers meeting the following would be discussed: why everyone was so useless on the radio, at what age we can view cubs despite the fact that it never changed, and who's been driving off-road where they shouldn't have been driving off-road. Those are the 3 things that were discussed at every single rangers meeting. And I thought, you know, we do this every week, and I don't feel like we're getting anywhere necessarily. Anyway, many years later I was at Londolozi. This is sort of 5 years later, and I found at the bottom of I was cleaning out a room, and I found at the bottom of a cupboard an old file full of rangers meeting minutes. where they were still kept by hand. From 1978 they began. There are some dwarf Mongoose. Let's just see if they come out. Here we go. And interestingly, the minutes of those Rangers meetings from 30 years previously were exactly the same. Everyone's useless on the radio. Why are you driving off-road where you shouldn't be? And what age shall we view the cubs? I will show you why I'm laughing now. Oh, that's beautiful. Isn't that lovely? They look like a mixture between a bear and a mouse. But they've got very human ears. I definitely knew guys at school who had ears that big. Look at this one, slightly white patch. Yes. He must be the talk of the town, hey? Everyone must be very jealous of that little white patch. Oh, yes. You're very smart. Very smart indeed. Look at the pink nose. Now this is quite interesting from a structural point of view, or an anatomical point of view. For this animal to stand on his back legs like that, he's probably not very comfortable. So he's doing it just like a meerkat does, in order to see if there's any threat. But his hips are very differently positioned from yours. And it's why just about all mammals find it difficult, A, to stand up on their back feet. They can do it, but they find it difficult, and they don't find it comfortable, and they can't locomote. They can't move too far like that. That's gorgeous, David. And because of our hips and the way that they're arranged, we can move very efficiently and very effectively on 2 feet. But it comes at a massive price. And that massive price, of course, is the fact that the birth canal must pass through where the hips are, whereas in a quadrupedal animal it doesn't. And if you combine that with the fact that our babies are pretty big compared with their mothers, if you compare the size, the average size of, say, a leopard cub versus a human baby, you'll find the human baby is bigger, and its head is obviously also very big. So one of the big sacrifices of being bipedal is that birth is massively dangerous for the female of the species, which I always think is quite a good example of an evolutionary trade-off. Now we will be quiet and watch the sun go down. goes. So you can hear mainly the francolins calling, the crested francolins. Might just be able to hear a little bit of kind of light whistling, which I think is some blue waxbills. Yeah. Oh, and the mongoose is still down on the road there. That's so beautiful. So those are the Drakensberg mountains just above Hoedspruit town. Right. Apparently, on account of my misdemeanors, I will not be allowed to sleep in our room this evening, and this is where I'll be sleeping tonight. That's the final control room, and at least she's made me a bed. I think it's quite comfortable. That's Louise. Louise says that she'll keep me company all night. Thank you, Louise. That's very nice of you. My wife is sitting over here. No, you can't see her. I think it looks quite comfortable. First good night's sleep I'll have in months. Oh my goodness. I knew it would happen eventually. Sean has managed to find a spectacular sighting for the Leopard.
So we have managed to find a spectacular sighting. We've got the sunset, a couple of trees in the way, but it was still really beautiful to see. And we got a very gorgeous, big, this is what they call an Ngala tree. And if Marcel zooms in nicely onto that Ngala tree, you can see there's a leopard in the tree. Quite fantastic. It was actually found by one of our tracking teams, Yapi and Nikki. But that is the Makoti male. So if some of you do remember, we saw him with myself maybe 6 days ago, and then Rome saw him maybe 2 weeks ago. This is the young male. Beautiful, beautiful guy, and he's in a beautiful, beautiful tree. So look at his stomach there, the back half on the right, the whiter part. You can see that it looks quite full. Now, it could just be the position on the tree, but I would wager that he has eaten recently. And now you won't be able to see, but you see how he's turned his head. Now, on the ground, about 20 meters from the tree is an Impala. It's a male Impala. And I think the leopard has heard the Impala walking and is just watching him. I don't think anything is going to happen. Firstly, because the leopard is very high up in the tree and he's on the other side of the tree. And he also looks full. So what would be interesting is if this leopard actually has a carcass in the tree already. But I cannot see one. You can see it is quite thick in that tree. Lots of branches, lots of leaves. So it's very hard to see in there. But very special to see him in there. Like he's staring quite intently at that Impala. We're going to stay here because if we move, that Impala is going to run. And, you know, we never know what could happen. So we'll just stay here. It's still beautiful to look at him. Look at the different pattern. Ooh, okay. So we've got a question from Sergio. Wants to know where the best place is to see a black leopard. Now, Sergio, I have only ever seen one black leopard, and that was in a rehabilitation center not far from andBeyond in Ngala, the Moholo Rehabilitation Center. So, from my experience, Sergio, that is your best place to see a black leopard. In terms of in the wild, myself thinks India would be a good place for black leopard. I've got no idea, hey? I've got no idea. They are very beautiful animals, though, so for those viewers who don't know, you should Google it. They look very beautiful. Yeah, they're probably very, very, very elusive animals, Sergio. So I'd reckon you need to go on a vast number of safaris to see them, wherever it may be. He's actually looking quite intently at that impala, who's still there. I see there's another herd quite a bit further back, but far too far for the actual leopard to give any concentration towards. But just look how he's perched on that tree. Got a beautiful little dip there in the branch. Look at his back legs, one on either side of the branch. But he's not in an angle. It's not like the branch is leaning up or leaning down. It's pretty horizontal where he is. And he's done a very good job. And we are going to sit here until he climbs down the tree, because that would be also quite spectacular to watch. I'm looking at the trunk. It looks quite complex. Lots of little holes and little roots and branches growing out. Okay, so we got a question from, I think it's This Girl's Crazy. Want you to know why leopards sleep and eat in trees? So, they eat in the trees because it is safer. They take their food up a tree, nothing can steal their food. So it's a much safer place for them to sit and eat up in the tree. In terms of sleeping in the tree, we don't actually see them sleeping in the tree that often here on andBeyond and Ngala. So this is unique. Remember the leopard we saw the other day, he was eating in the tree. Very seldom do we actually see them just lying and resting in a tree. I'd imagine they do it though for a very similar reason to the eating. It's just a bit safer, they have less to worry about. You know, you're lying on the ground, you're sleeping, you have to worry about buffaloes, elephants, lions, hyenas, all that could come and disrupt your sleep. Where in the tree, you're safe from everything, besides another leopard. So I'd imagine that's why they sleep in trees. You go to a place like the Sabi Sands, down there where Djuma side is, sometimes they see leopards sleeping in trees a bit more regularly. And that could just be the density of other animals or better trees, just different behaviors. It's very hard for all the animals, impalas, zebras, wildebeest, everything, elephants, to give, precise behavioral statements. Because, I've said things before and been like, this is what is going to happen, and then they do the exact opposite. These animals, they do what they want. They think how they will. If, I say one thing, they can do the other thing. Sometimes they do what I say, sometimes they don't. But these animals, they change their behavior constantly. It depends a lot on the situation, what's happening, what they've had previously. This one, we know he's eaten, so maybe now he's full, and he didn't want to get disturbed because he's trying to digest and relax, so he chose the tree. Maybe if he wasn't full, he would sleep on the ground, because then he's a bit more agile, he's not using as much bodily resources to digest, he's got a bit more energy. So it depends a lot on a number of factors before you can say, this is why it's happening. But a lot of what I know is based on just watching these animals. It's been spending the time here for the last 3 and a bit years and watching. You can read the books and you can, read all the articles in the papers and things like that. And of course they are helpful and you do learn a lot from doing that. But a lot of what I've learned is just sitting here with the animals and watching and combining what you see happening and what you witness with the information that you read from the books. Because the books might say one thing and then you come out and you're like, this is what's going to happen. And the leopard's like, not today, Sean. And he does the opposite. You can see what he's doing. It looks like he's put his head on the other side. I don't think he's looking at that impala anymore. He might be sleeping. So what we're going to do, we're going to drive around, see if we can get a different view, a different position. While we do that, send you back over to Lauren at Djuma.
I do have Impala, and they are relatively predictable for us during this season. This male here appears to have gathered his temporary harem of females, and boisterous they are. Rutting season is about to begin. I think it's actually already started. It's at the very start. The males are becoming notoriously loud, Their necks are thickening, their testosterone's rising, and of course they're collecting their females. They're all spacing themselves out, hence the vocalizations, and they're giving themselves little temporary territories where they'll have their females. It's actually very endearing. You can see all these females not straying too far away from their handsome dominant male. I always stop to pay attention to Impala. I know I mention this all the time, but I can't even begin to tell you how many leopards I have found through just paying attention to the Impala. So it's always worth a little look. And of course, they're gorgeous. And if you guys are still enjoying jumping on board with us every single day for 6 hours a day, then please do consider heading over to www.wildearth.tv/support. And you can support us in any way that you wish to. Oh, what does everybody see? Oh my goodness. Everyone was very alert there, all looking in the same direction. It's not at us. We've been there for quite some time. Louise, can you just repeat that name? Oh, and I'm going to go back because I feel like these Impala are very interested in something over here. Just want to make sure I'm not missing any bush clues. No, Louise, I got the question, the name. I didn't hear the name. Someone's asking, are these Impala the same as the Impala at Ngala? Same species? Yes. But definitely not the same collection or the same herd. Dizzy, it's you who's asking. Dizzy, aha, I got it now. No, not the same Impala. But the same species, yes. The same animal, yes. What are you guys looking at? They're not alarm calling, but they're very, very interested in something over here. And I can hardly see anything, of course, because it's now low levels of light. Impala spot far more than they're given credit for. And when they're all looking like this, sometimes it can lead to something, but they've all of a sudden relaxed and let us bumble forward. We've still got a little bit of light, which can assist us, but I think I need to turn on my lights. And before I forget, Jasmine, your daddy Owen misses you very much when he says hi. He's stuck with me for 3 hours, and he just wanted me to say hi. Okay. And kids, it's very, very easy to sex the Impala because the males have horn. And why do they have horns? Well, males generally, especially at this time of year, rutting season, engage in battle. They clash with one another. They lock horns. They also use their horns in sort of their territorial markings when they rub their horns against the vegetation, but this is not a permanent thing. It's not a all year round behavior. It's normally just during the rutting season. And the little harems that you just see, well, you see them set up, they dissolve. They're also not permanent. It's just during this bout of I'm the bigger Impala, I'm going to compete with you, choose me, ladies. This is basically what's going on in the world of Impala. And only the males have them because they're the ones that are aggressive with one another. They completely lock horns and they battle. Now with Impala, normally it's not to the death. That would be very sad if it was. But for the likes of Ngala are notorious for fighting, and sometimes they can kill one another. And that's generally why males have horns, for protection, self-protection against other males, but also for battling with other males. Okay, I'm furiously looking for my leopard, but I have to send you guys across to a leopard who's standing in a tree.
Okay, so have a look here. You can see, look what he's doing. So he's looking over us. There's a hyena that looks like he might have found some food on behind us. We're just having a look here. So now potentially this leopard was eating. Remember I said he looked full. He might have been eating here on the ground. And then finished what he wanted, because now this hyena is eating something. Look at that. That is beautiful. Look at the focus there. Incredible. What a beautiful leopard. Stunning looking guy. Can you scan to that hyena? So I'm just asking myself to have a look at the hyena here. So you guys can just see, there's the hyena there. So not far, but you can see it looks like he is eating something. He's eating a big something. I think there's a whole impala in there. Can you see that? I think he just stole this leopard's food. So potentially that looks like it's quite a big impala. That this leopard is quite small and he couldn't take it up the tree, so he ate on the ground. He ate on the ground and then he moved. What we're going to do, we're going to move the car a little. Oh wait, is he dragging it out there for us? No, let's move the car a little bit just so that Marcel can get a better angle and we can get a clearer view. We're just going to go around the bushes. The leopard is still just sitting in the tree. He's watching. He definitely caught that and ate some of it. If we stop over here, Marcel. So Marcel's going to have a look. That is a fairly large looking impala. Seems like the ribs have been eaten. The inside has been eaten. Yeah, when he turns and he's eating again, I'm going to keep quiet and just listen. Remember we heard the wild dogs this morning crunching on those little bones, but we said their jaws aren't strong enough to actually crunch through all the big ones. But this hyena can do that. So we're going to listen when he decides to eat again. That's very interesting. We were sitting here for 10-15 minutes and we did not smell that carcass. We did not see it, anything. That leopard had hidden it very, very well. But he doesn't look too disappointed. Gerard, I have not, no. So Gerard wants to know if I've ever seen a leopard jump out of a tree onto an impala. No, I have not. I have actually never seen a leopard successfully catch anything. But I've seen videos, Gerard, of leopards jumping out of trees and catching food. It actually happened in a camp not too far from here, where a leopard jumped out of a tree onto an impala. So it does happen. It would be fascinating to see, but I have not seen it. That's interesting. I wonder what this hyena is actually eating there. Seeing that he's not eating the actual impala, maybe as he was dragging it, something fell out. Maybe some of the insides, the intestines, something like that. I'm not sure. I can't see. I'm starting to wonder if maybe... No, we're going to stay here. I'll keep looking in the trees, seeing if the leopard's doing anything, but he's not. Looks like the hyena's trying to move the food. King Jess, it is very unlikely that this leopard will fight this hyena. So her question was, would the leopard risk trying to fight this hyena for its food? No. This hyena is quite large. It's very big. Got a thick neck, big head, where the leopard is still young. He's still small, which is why he didn't take the carcass up the tree, so I suspect. So no, he would not fight this hyena. I'm surprised if he had maybe seen the hyena earlier or the food was closer, he might have then tried to rush down and take it up before the hyena got there. But as soon as the hyena came into the situation, King Jess, he would run away. He would run away, disappear, run up a tree. He knows that he won't win this fight with the hyena. Because the hyena, it can fight with more freedom. Because if the hyena gets injured, it's okay. There are other hyenas in his clan that can get food and provide food for him. He doesn't need to hunt and do everything by himself. Where the leopard, being a solitary animal, doesn't have that support, that sort of family structure. If he gets injured and he can't hunt, he dies. So for him, rather give up this one meal and be injury-free to hunt again, than fight and defend this one meal, potentially win, but get so injured that he can't hunt again. But what we're going to do, we're going to keep quiet and we're going to listen. Okay, but what we're going to do, me and myself are going to stay here. I want to see what the leopard does, what the hyena does. But in the meantime, it seems like Lauren has found a massive elephant very close to her car.
We have a huge Ellie bull. Huge, he's in must. He's massive. He inspected us. He put his trunk over his tusks, just like I was describing to you earlier. He did that. He really wasn't sure. We might get a head shake here. My goodness, he's massive. No, he's quite satisfied with us. Can you smell that, Owen? I love an Ellie bull in must. He's listening to us. He's a very large boy, to say the least. He came right up to the car. That smell of an elephant in must. Sour but sweet. Musty, leathery smell. Many of you are saying he's gorgeous. Oh, he's stunning. He came right to the car. Did your heart skip a beat, Owen?
Slightly.
Slightly. Oh, what a magical way to end that with that gorgeous skyline. So we're going to head on in towards home. Home is where I want to be, and it seems like James is at Ribbon's home.
And Ribbon has returned, thankfully, to her home. There she is. She has got her bottom inside the, I nearly said nest, but den is a more appropriate term, and I think she's cleaning the cubs. She's cleaning either herself or the cubs, but she only goes down there when they're feeding. And maybe we'll be very lucky. We don't have much time left in this drive, but maybe we'll be lucky and see the little ones. Hi, Ribbon. She looks very content indeed. The flies continue to be quite astonishing, around her ears mainly. We just parked at a slightly different angle this evening. Oh dear. There is another vehicle in the sighting. So that's not us shining a light on her. Now, if you haven't been to this den before with us, this is Ribbon, who is the matriarch of the Djuma clan of hyenas. Rose up to the matriarchy through violence, bit of politics, and instead of being a lowly ranked member as she was at one stage, is now the top dog, as it were, except obviously hyenas are not dogs. or they're closely related to dogs. And we've been waiting for these cubs now to come out for at least 2 and a bit weeks. We've seen them 3 times, I think. Never a really great view, except for the first time when they popped out for Lauren. But I think we're getting close to the time that they're going to spend more time out of the den now. Rachel, you say, "Here, hyena cubs, please come out." Well, I agree. Come on, hyena cubs, please come out. I wonder how comfortable that really is. But the chances are she'll just pop her head out. Alrighty, we're going to wait here, but you're going to go back to Sean. While you go back to Sean, please think about supporting us, wildearth.tv/support, if you would like to continue watching these drives. If you'd like to support what we do out here. Thanks.
Beautiful, beautiful leopard. Yes, so he's obviously resigned to his fate, and he's just going to lie there and watch the hyena. The hyena's still behind us. He's still eating. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm just going to keep quiet for like a minute, because you want to listen. You'll be able to hear the hyena crunching behind us. There's a scops owl calling a little bit further back. Everything's now waking up in the night. There's a lot of noises that you should just listen to while you stare at this beautiful leopard. Hyenas now. He just stopped and he's looking up and around. I think he's looking to see if there's any other hyenas that are going to come through here. I heard one calling, but quite far away. But I wouldn't be surprised as soon another hyena comes. You can see I'm very surprised with how this leopard reacted. Now, I did say he did look full, so it looks like he got a decent meal from this Impala before it got stolen. But he was very relaxed about it. He watched this hyena come in. The hyena just walked up, smelt around, took the food, and the leopard just sat there and did nothing.
He didn't even smell.
Yeah, he didn't really do anything. He just sort of sat there and watched. But he looks very content there, as I said. He's just full-bellied, and he's just relaxing now with probably one of the best positions you'll see a leopard in. You know, one hand over the front of the branch there, one paw rather. Just relaxing. I think there's a very good chance that he is going to spend the rest of the night up here, especially if that hyena stays. So see, now he starts waking up. Exactly what I said. They don't do what we say. But I think what a fantastic way to end off a fantastic day. I mean, all the elephant encounters that they had at Djuma, some crazy ones. The birds, ribbons back, fantastic news. You know, the wild dogs that we saw. And now to end off with one of the best looking young male leopards that you'll find in the tree. He's looking very, very cool there. I think he is, as I said, going to sleep in that tree. Hyena's still eating. Everyone's happy. And what I think is I'm going to be like a hyena and also go have dinner. Thank you for watching.